Okay, good morning. My name is Michael Norris, and I am a senior analyst at Simba Information. I'd like to welcome you to You Bought Your Ebook Where? Digital books and brick and mortar bookstores. I'm going to talk for maybe 20, 25 minutes max, and then at the end I'll open the floor for questions and comments and hopefully a discussion. Just to give you a little bit of background about Simba, we're primarily known for our independent analysis of the book publishing industry through our monthly periodical book publishing report, which has been around as BP report for some form or another for the past 35 years. We've also recently introduced a web component at bookpublishingreport.com with some content, but also searchable archives for subscribers. We also do a number of syndicated research reports, and some of the ones you've probably heard of include trends in trade book retailing and trade electronic book publishing. And we also do some consulting and specialty research on a very limited basis. And if there's anything I want you to remember about Simba, it is that we are truly independent. We don't have any backing from any publisher group, any retailer group, any software group, any hardware group. We don't have any stake in any action that you take. So whenever you want independent and hype-free analysis, you can always turn to us. Now, in order to start talking about what's actually going on with ebooks and retailing as it relates to physical stores, we have to actually look at ebooks specifically, and we really have to learn quickly how much we're misreading about what's actually going on in the market, because there's so much hype, there's so much conjecture, and there's so much speculation that I even can't keep up with it sometimes. And a couple of the ways it has been misread lately, just to name a couple, is that we're overstating the influence of new gadgets as they're coming onto the marketplace in terms of where they're going to sit with ebook consumers. Now, we actually did a proprietary nationally representative study when the iPad first came out, and we discovered that only about 40% of adults who own an iPad, 40% of them haven't accessed or bought a single ebook on the device. So in terms of the transformative power of devices themselves, it's a little bit hard to get a read on that. And the other area where things get misread is when a company, say an online retailer says something like they're selling more digital books than they are selling print books, and it gets parroted all over the popular press. It's very important to remember that I have never seen a press release from an independent bookstore that says that they are selling 0 Kindle books for every 100 print titles that they're selling, because it really is a very specific way of looking at it. And the other problem with that kind of a comparison is that ebooks, especially in some stores like the Kindle store, are very different from that of physical books, because Simba does, or did, I think we're still doing this, is a list capture of the ebook bestseller list once a week, same time. We record all 100 books that are on there, and we write down the prices, we write down the genres, we write down the categories, and at the end of the year, we've got 52 weeks of data. And just in the most recent list capture, we found that about a quarter of the books on Amazon's top 100 list were $1 or less. And when you're talking about selling more ebook units than physical book units, I have no doubt that Amazon is telling the truth, but we really have to look at it from a fresh perspective all the time. Consumers aren't as hungry, as sophisticated as we'd like to think they are. I'm actually going to cover that a little bit more later. But the other thing is, and this is actually increasingly hard to quantify, is the mechanism of book discovery is very much interconnected between print and digital. Now, I always bump into people who own a Kindle, they love it, they evangelize about it, and they'll say how transformative it is to be able to see somebody with a print book and download it at that very moment and start reading it at that time. There's no doubt that that is transformative, but it's only transformative if the person with the Kindle sees somebody with a print book in the first place. So and also, I can't tell you how many independent booksellers have mentioned to me that they've seen people walk into their stores to browse, scribble things down, maybe take cell phone camera pictures of books, and then walk out again, presumably to buy the book elsewhere, possibly electronically. There's that part of it, but there's also people like myself who, when I call Elm Street Books in New Canaan looking for a book, I have Amazon open to make sure I'm spelling the author's name right, because I'm worried I'm going to get it wrong when I order the book. So the whole world of discovery can't really be looked at in individual piles. All right, everything is connected and everything is related, and it's really important to think about as we talk about the overall health of the industry. Now, whenever I give a presentation, I really like to start off with some great consumer research from Expo and Simmons. They do an outstanding nationally representative survey about every 3 months. And the data has always been reliable, it's been consistent, and we absolutely love looking at this question first every time it comes in, because this is really where we all have to start anytime we want to look at books. Did you buy a book in the last 12 months? Any kind of book, any format, whatever. Did you buy any book in the last 12 months? And all of us are in this room right now because we're passionate about books in some form or another. But about 100 million people in this country didn't buy a single solitary book in 2010. And that number has actually been ticking up slightly over the past years, and that really worries me. Because if we're talking about ways to grow this market, I really think that we ought to start looking at the people who aren't giving us a second thought. And it's also the people who don't care about 3 for the price of 2, and it's also the people who don't read or follow author blogs at all. It's a lot of people that just don't care about this content, and we've got to figure out ways to reach them. Now, just to switch back to Simba Information's proprietary study, I wrote a question down on the whiteboard of my office about 3 years ago, and the question was, who buys these things anyway? And that was basically the start of what became the Trade Ebook Publishing Report series, and the 2011 edition of Trade Ebook Publishing just came out last month. But one of the things that we do is that we have our own nationally representative study. We're now doing it quarterly, and we ask, do you buy ebooks? Yes or no? And after they answer, if they answer yes, we'll say, well, what devices do you use to read? How many ebooks have you bought? What other things are you buying, and so forth? And it really provides the proper sense, I think, of scale that the market so desperately needs quite a bit of the time. Now, we also, because it's a quarterly survey, we get to tweak questions and add things here and there, but the ebook question has always been consistent the 3+ years we've been doing it. And we're also, of course, asking about print book consumption habits too. And it's very interesting to realize that print book buyers outnumber ebook buyers about 5 to 1. And we spend, I'm not standing next to the podium so I can't point it to you, but we spend an awful lot of time over on the far side, don't we? Because frankly, there's quite a bit happening in that space, and we always want to discuss it, we always want to go over it, and we always obsess about the new technologies that are involved. But questions at the end. But at the, I just want to know what time period this is. 2010. All of 2010? 2010, yes. But it's really important to consider the perspective, especially when there have been so many amazing advances in digital books over the past few years, because there are still a large number of consumers that just are not giving up on print, and I don't think that the industry should as well, because I've been watching a number of different data points about the percentage of people who identify themselves as book buyers, and I've been watching print books mostly stagnate or decline, and I've been watching ebooks grow, and I think this industry owes it to itself to come up with ways to make both of those segments grow without just letting one pillage consumers from the other. As I said, one of the things that the Simba survey does is that we actually ask, what devices do you use to read and consume your electronic books? And we break these out a little bit further in the report in terms of the individual devices. But when we first came out with this report, we surprised a lot of people when we showed that the personal computer was the #1 most popular piece of hardware used to consume an ebook. That was in the whole year of 2008, and it was leading again in 2009. The thing that a lot of people forget is that ebooks have been around for a good long time. And the other thing that people forget is that a lot of people have a very casual relationship with print book content. That means a lot of the readers that you think you have, they're very intermittent. They'll buy one book here, one book there, and they're not the most active participants in the market, but they're still active. They still, plunk down money at some point or another to buy books.